Cam, how do you feel about odds and percentages and chances? How do you feel about math and statistics?
Math gives me a really bad headache.
All right. Well,
It
as we
does.
sit here, this probably will too. As we sit here, 11 weeks now into the college football season, Georgia a perfect 10-0,
Yep.
and then a whole bunch of chaos behind them. Can you tell me, according to ESPN's FPI, their predictor for who's going to make the college football playoff, who's number 2 with the highest percentage to make it? Georgia right now sits at 96%. They have a 96% chance to make it.
Number 2. And honestly, I haven't really looked either.
No, I mean just everything. Like who has
Maybe
the
probably Bama.
Bama is number 2.
Yeah.
Do you know who number 3 is with a 60% chance to make the college football playoff?
A 60%?
Yep.
Ohio State?
Notre Dame.
Are you? Wow.
According to ESPN's FPI, as we sit here on the 15th of November, Notre Dame has the best chance behind Alabama and Georgia to make the college football playoff. We just kind of wrote them off.
How so? How
after
so,
they
though?
lost to Cincinnati?
So they're basically insinuating they're thinking all the teams above them are going to lose
They
out.
have been.
Yeah, they got to lose. Yeah.
Oklahoma lost this weekend. Michigan State lost a couple weekends ago. Michigan lost to Michigan State a couple weekends ago. I mean, right now in the AP, Notre Dame, and this was prior to last week, Notre Dame sits at number 6.
Yeah, and Ohio State and Michigan State will play themselves out this week.
Michigan and Ohio State still have to play as well.
Oop.
That'll work itself out. Now, what I'm wondering is, there's no way they jump Notre Dame over an undefeated Cincinnati that beat them in their house.
Nah, there's no way. That would be so disrespectful. It would make absolutely no sense by the rules they've gone by with the college football playoffs. I wouldn't really understand that one. So yeah, man. But it's like what we talked about a few weeks ago. If Alabama beats Georgia, I could just see Alabama jumping to 1, Georgia falling back to number 2. I don't think it'd be a huge drop. They know those two. They're the best team.
Here's what I'm assuming they think is going to happen is they think Ohio State's going to drop another one, which would make Ohio State a 2-loss team. Because I mean, think about what they have coming up. What is it? Michigan State, Michigan, and then
Big Ten
the Big Ten
championship
against Wisconsin, who's been a really good team since they started with 3 losses.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense is, I think, across the board comparable to Georgia's in terms of statistics, right? They have been up there right alongside Georgia's. Now, in terms of like level of play and impact on games, absolutely not.
Yeah, nah.
But the defense, much like Penn State, has been elite with a super lackluster offense. But all of a sudden, I forget the kid's name. I can probably look it up. But he's like a 17-year-old true freshman running back for them that's really kind of flipped the script for Wisconsin. Braylon Allen, 17 years old, tearing it up. So,
17.
Yeah, Wisconsin, do you know what their record is right now?
I want to say they're 7-2.
7-3.
7-3. Okay.
But I mean, it was 3 losses really early in the season. They started 1-3, right? They lost to Penn State, lost to Notre Dame, lost to Michigan, and beat Eastern Michigan. Since then, they've ripped off 6 wins in a row, including wins over top 25 Purdue and number 9 Iowa.
You gotta give the coach a round of applause.
Oh yeah, but what I'm sitting here thinking though is Ohio State has a heck of a gauntlet it has to run.
Oh yeah,
right. Where they have again Michigan State coming up this weekend. Then they're at Michigan, who can get after you defensively, and you're playing a Heisman candidate in Kenneth Walker this weekend, and then you have to play Wisconsin, who's good. So is the Big Ten going to sort itself out?
I think so.
And then the Big 12, Oklahoma finally did what we all thought they were going to do. It kind of feels like,
yeah.
Is it almost like a relief that they finally lost? Maybe even for them, they're like, yeah, this should have happened like 5 times already.
They do it every year, man. Lincoln Riley, they always drop one every year, and I should have known picking. I'm like, Baylor just came off a bad loss to TCU. They're gonna correct themselves this week against Oklahoma, but I tried to stick with Caleb Williams and those guys, and he got benched in that game.
Yep.
With Spencer Rattler. It's just weird. Oklahoma's kind of weird this year.
Now, here's my question is, should we write off Oklahoma yet?
No. Absolutely not.
Because how many times have they made it to the college football playoffs?
They control their own destiny right now. Still.
I'm trying to think. How many times have they done it? And each time it's been with 1 loss. Is it 4 times that they've been in the college football playoff, and each
Hurts,
time they've had a
Murray,
loss?
Baker.
Yep. And Baker made it twice because he lost to Clemson and he lost to Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're 0-4 in the playoffs.
Dang. Yeah, I mean they make it all the
Twice
time.
with Baker, once with Kyler, once with Jalen.
Yeah, I think they'll get it together.
So
I
I mean,
don't know if they'll get it
all I'm
against
saying is you can't
Stillwater.
write them off yet
No, I'm not going to write
as a
them off
one-loss
yet.
team, but they do still have some really tough games coming up. Like they
Mhm.
have Oklahoma State coming up, and that could be another loss for them. So it's pretty fascinating because Georgia's been the one consistent. And we can talk about Georgia, obviously. What they did at Tennessee was kind of reminiscent to me of what happened against Florida, where it's just kind of, all right, it's a little awkward right here at the beginning, kind of plotting. Oh, you're up 10-7. That's cute. All of a sudden, 40 points later,
Yeah.
we're getting out of here, and this one doesn't feel like it was ever close.
Only thing I was worried about, it was a lot of guys, getting injured.
Okay, well, here's the thing with that.
Yeah, man.
No,
I was like,
here's the thing with that.
Come on now.
Brooks Austin has reported that Nolan Smith's dealing with like a minor elbow injury, and Kirby Smart kind of re-emphasized that today during his press conference that Nolan Smith will be fine. Like he should be good to go. Devonta Wyatt is dealing with a little bit of a knee thing, but he should still be good to go. A lot of those, I'm going to do air quotes, injuries was just Georgia trying to slow down Tennessee.
Okay.
I mean, let's be honest about it. You had an offensive or a defensive lineman going down like every other play. That was just gamesmanship for Georgia against a team that likes to go really fast. And so you're like, hey, 340-pound guy, when they start going fast and we're not lined up, go down.
I know the score didn't indicate it, but I was still impressed by Tennessee, though.
Yeah,
I really
they've been
was.
an impressive team. I think if they ran it back against Florida right now,
Oh,
probably
yeah,
beat them by 20.
Yeah, I was impressed by Tennessee. I'm like, 41-17, obviously that's not what you want to hear, but I mean, if you looked at, they moved the ball pretty well for the most part, better than any other team that's done it this year. They're very impressed. They're going to be kind of like a scary team.
Only
in the
team that
future.
scored 2 offensive touchdowns against Georgia this year.
Yeah, they're going to be a scary team in the future in the next couple of years. Hendon Hooker is kind of, he's a pro to me personally.
I don't know about that.
I think I wouldn't say a starter, but if you're talking about the guy's 6-7 round pick, maybe I could see it.
I think much like Mike Leach, Josh Heupel just knows how to get a lot out of quarterbacks, and that system is very quarterback friendly. But just looking at that Georgia game, I thought the inside linebackers stood out to me. Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, I thought had a huge game, and then Channing Tindall, 3 sacks. For Channing Tindall, and he's your third inside linebacker, and he had 3 sacks. He's just one of those guys where he can absolutely fly.
Normally, that's Anderson getting those sacks.
He's not great in coverage, but if it's just straight up rushing the quarterback, Channing Tindall is pretty elite.
Yeah, normally that's Anderson getting those sacks, and we know about what's going on with that situation. But
yeah, probably not going to see him again.
I love the next man up mentality they've had this year. It's really been next man up, and nobody has underperformed yet. Everybody's done their part, and I mean, I don't want to say it, man, but we have 2 games left. First time you've been alive to see them go undefeated. Same here.
This is the first time in the history of Georgia football they went 8-0 in SEC play.
Yeah, it's a different year, man.
The first time since 1981 or 82 that they went undefeated in the SEC period.
That's crazy. So dare I say it's our year, but we have one. We have one. I mean, I said it a couple of weeks ago, but we have one team. In my personal opinion,
I don't think that's true. I think there's a few teams that could beat Georgia right now. I think Alabama can certainly beat Georgia.
Definitely.
I think Ohio State can certainly beat Georgia.
I'm not.
Ohio State's clicking. Ohio State's clicking right now, and they have 3 NFL receivers.
No, yeah,
and they have like 3 NFL running backs, and now CJ Stroud has had a full year under center, and he's clicking in that offense. They absolutely smacked Purdue. They put any thought of an upset to bed in like the first 5 minutes of that game. Yeah. Everybody came in. I told you it was going to happen because when you're actually paying attention to Purdue, they're not good. It's like when you shine the light on them, they run away.
Yeah.
Right. But Ohio State just absolutely slammed the door immediately. They look like what Ohio State's supposed to look like.
Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, those dudes are going to be what? 15, top 15, top 20 picks, both of them.
TreVeyon Henderson.
Yeah. The freshman running back.
Yeah, he didn't even lead them in rushing, but he still had an awesome day. So I think Ohio State,
I would love to see that
certainly beat Georgia
against Georgia's defense.
Yeah.
That would be real cool.
And Alabama's still horrifying to me because Brian Robinson's really good.
Mechie, I still like Mechie. He's still a solid receiver.
Mechie's been awesome. I think the only thing that worries me about Alabama is how inconsistent they are on defense.
Yeah.
But they now have 2 chances to clinch up the SEC West. They just have to beat Arkansas or they have to beat Auburn. because of the mess that was the SEC West. We're going to talk about that in the next segment because there is so many things from the SEC West that were just mind-boggling from the weekend. But before we go there, did you see what happened to Florida?
Yeah, that's. Did you see them? They were celebrating.
Okay, listen. I want to start. Okay, let's start with this. I'm perfectly okay with that. Yes, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are, right? Football is the only sport. Jamie Chadwell, Coastal Carolina's coach, brought this up. I think it's a really good point. This is the only sport where you practice more than you play.
That's true.
I think we talked about this last week, right?
Yeah, that's true.
In the off season, you have spring where you have like a month where it's literally just practice, and then you go into summer camp, and then you go into a fall camp where it's just practice, and then you practice 5 days a week to play on Saturday to play one 60-minute game. For these dudes, you got to celebrate every win. I don't care who it's against. You got to celebrate. I don't care how you won. You won a football game. I think it's fine to celebrate. Now, do I think what happened in that first half was embarrassing?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Is it a better result than Florida's had against SoCon teams in the past? Yep. Because at least they won this one.
Yeah.
Versus letting McKinnon and Georgia Southern roll all over them. So, and I'll say this: Liam Welch, the quarterback for Samford, is a really good quarterback. That dude is torching the SoCon. They just don't have a defense.
Man,
if you could combine Samford's offense with Penn State's defense, you might be onto something.
I was just shocked at the score at halftime. I'm like, wow, Florida's letting them put a 40 ball on them. So, man, I mean, they won.
And it wasn't good. Now, I will say this. You fired your defensive coordinator, and Christian Robinson, who is a former Georgia linebacker and is 31, is their interim defensive coordinator. So that you could tell there's a lot of issues when it came to the sub packages, getting guys in and out, communicating the signals. So there were some issues, but also I think it comes down to noon kick, Samford, a good SoCon team, a good FCS team, right? Not great, but good, especially on offense. Kind of sleepy. You're firing coaches. The team's kind of giving up on the coach a little bit. That had all the recipe and all the ingredients for what happened. Credit to Florida for coming back out in the second half and absolutely slamming the door and putting that one away. I think Emory Jones over 600 yards of total offense.
Yep.
So
6 touchdowns, I think.
Yeah. So
that's good for a confidence booster.
Yeah. So I mean, but that being said, I think they gave up as many offensive touchdowns in the first half against Samford as Georgia had given up all year.
Crazy to say, but wow. I mean, the defense, that Georgia defense. And if you
included the kickoff return, they had given up more touchdowns.
Yep. That Georgia defense is elite. So, and it's like you don't really think they're going to stop being elite.
But
that's the great part.
Is Tennessee, you feel like they had a good game and they put up 17 points. And one of them was just a garbage time. We want to put points on the board kind of score.
Yeah, it was. I know they had that. What was it? A fumble at some point in time in the fourth quarter where they were driving early with, I think, 8-9 minutes left.
Well, they had an interception. They had a fumble. Yep. Like they lost the turnover battle, which we told you couldn't do.
Yeah, you can't do that
against Georgia. But no, I thought that first quarter was, if you're Josh Heupel, I think for the season, you could probably hang your hat on that. Either that or the fact that you had the ball for 16 total minutes against Kentucky and you won that game. Just going away. You had 4 drives that were less than a minute against Kentucky. So I think Josh Heupel's done a really good job. I think he might be in line. I would hear arguments for him as coach of the year, especially if they go to a bowl game.
Yeah, I think they'll win their last 2 games. Yeah, and go 7-5, win a bowl game, 8-5.
I honestly really don't know who they're playing.
They've already played Kentucky. Vanderbilt is one of those teams, and it's someone else that they're playing.
Oh yeah, South Alabama
and Vanderbilt. I think they don't have a problem.
Hey, listen, we just talked about teams from other conferences. Sun Belt is a good conference. South Alabama is 5-5.
But I believe in it.
And you know who South Alabama's quarterback is?
Nah.
Former South Carolina quarterback Jake Bentley.
Okay.
I think South Carolina would probably take him back right now.
Yeah, they would.
He's having a good year too. He's got 15 touchdowns, over 2,000 yards passing already on the season. So just a huge win for Georgia.
Yep.
First time in school history you're 8-0 in the SEC. Pretty much on track for a 12-0 record. You got Charleston Southern coming up this weekend, and then you have a noon kick at Georgia Tech.
Should we talk about that team in Mercedes-Benz?
No, thank you. I'll leave that to the 3-and-out guys, because I'm trying to have a good time here. We're going to talk about the SEC West when we come back, because it was a wild weekend in the SEC West. We'll dive into it next right here on Second Down. Cam, I love coming back from these breaks and just hitting you with some trivia. Can you tell me how big Auburn's lead was on Mississippi State on Friday? Should be a score that you are very familiar with.
They were up 28-3.
Auburn led Mississippi State 28-3.
When I looked, it was 28-17. So I'm like, okay, Auburn's up 11. They were up 28-3. Wow.
They were indeed. And they ended up losing that football game to the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Will Rogers over 400 yards, 6 touchdowns in the comeback. Bo Nix, not a bad day. 27-41, 377 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Here's the problem.
How many picks, though?
0.
Okay, Bo. Okay,
Here's the problem. Again, you go up 7-0, 7-3, 14-3, 21-3, and then with 6 minutes left in the second quarter, the aforementioned cursed number, 28-3. With 6 minutes left in the second quarter, Cam, they were rolling in this football game. Mississippi State, though, Mike Leach, the Pirate, never lost his head, never lost his cool. Score a touchdown there with about 2 minutes left to go in the half, get it to 28-10, take that into the half, and then it was all Mississippi State. Cam, Auburn didn't score again until Mississippi State had put 40 unanswered on them in about 2 quarters.
I'm not understanding how. I mean, I know football it's a 60-minute game, but how do you blow a 28-3 lead or a lead that big in general? They're coming off of a bad loss against Texas A&M where they put up 3 points, and you come out just smoking hot, up 28-3, and then you blow the game against a team that doesn't have more talent than you. I would say quarterback play is about even. I don't think Will Rogers is that much better than Bo Nix.
Right.
And then the coaching is about even. I'm confused about that. Not understanding, but shout out to Mississippi State, though.
You want me to do the graph for you? The ESPN graph where it lets you know the percentage of a chance to win?
Yeah.
With 3 minutes and 15 seconds to go in the second quarter, Auburn had a 98.5% chance to win. And they lost the football game. Here's my question. All right, you're the head coach of the Auburn Tigers, Cam.
Okay.
Your team has allowed 40 consecutive points to be scored on them, but you're still in the football game. With 3 minutes and 37 seconds left to go in the game, you're down 43-28. You score a touchdown. The game is now 43-34, right? You're down 9 with an extra point coming up, right? You hit the extra point, it's an 8-point game. You're going to have to go for 2 at some point. Do you go for 2 then, or do you kick the field goal to make that an 8-point game?
I would kick the field goal to make it an 8-point game to keep my team alive.
I am 100% with you. Brian Harsin did not. Brian Harsin elected with 3 minutes and 37 seconds left to go ahead and go for 2 down 43-34, hoping obviously to make it 43-36 and make it a 7-point ball game. They missed the attempt. And so with 3.5 minutes left, it was a 2-score football game. I can't for the life of me understand why he did that.
You can't put your team in a hole mentally and say, okay, we're down 9. The game's over, essentially. I mean, I don't care who you are on that sideline. You're like, okay, this game is over. We blew a 25-point lead. Then we missed 2-point conversion. We're down 9. Game over. You make that field goal, you're down 8. At least I know if we get the ball back, we have an opportunity
even if they
to
kick
go
a
to
field
overtime.
goal, it's a 2-score game.
It's still, it's a 2-score game. It's just, I'm like, dude, I don't understand that. So
that's what Brian Harsin elected to do.
I picked Auburn, man.
And so now Auburn, all of a sudden, let's just look at the job the first-year coaches have done. Auburn's 6-4 right now. Now, you look at some of their losses. Yeah, you lost at Penn State. Yeah, you lost to Georgia. Yeah, you lost at Texas A&M, who maybe has the second-best defense in the SEC. You lost at Texas A&M, and then you come back and lose to Mississippi State. You're 6-4 right now. You have Alabama coming up.
Yep. Could be looking
in a couple weeks.
7-5.
You are absolutely looking at 7-5, unless you lose to another first-year coach that's shown the propensity to beat schools he's not supposed to beat, because you got South Carolina between you and Alabama.
And South Carolina desperately needs a win.
And it's at South Carolina.
Yeah, they need one only because if they lose this game, then they have to play Clemson at the end of the year. and they could possibly miss out on a bowl
for
game.
bowl eligibility. Yeah, they have to beat
Yeah.
Auburn or Clemson for bowl eligibility.
Oof, man.
I don't think that one's a lock for Auburn because it's on the road.
No, it's not a lot, especially with how they've been playing. I would choose Auburn because they're on back-to-back losses, but I mean, it just hurts. You know, the Georgia loss, I wouldn't say that's not a bad loss, clearly. I would say Penn State, I would love for you to get that one. Texas A&M, I think Texas A&M is a top 5 school in the country right now by the way they've been playing. But that Mississippi State one, it hurts the most, though.
Okay, so here's where you're at right now with the SEC West. You came in and Ole Miss still had a chance. Texas A&M still had a chance. Auburn still had a chance at winning the SEC West, but because Auburn loses to Mississippi State, they now have 3 losses. Texas A&M loses to Ole Miss. They now have 3 losses. And Texas A&M, I thought them and Auburn were the 2 that really had a chance. But now Ole Miss is the only team that has a chance because they need Alabama to lose to Arkansas and lose to Auburn. And then I think in that situation, I believe – so I take that back. I think Auburn is still the only team with a chance. Because in the situation that Alabama loses to Arkansas and loses to
it'll be
Auburn, then I believe it would be Auburn because of the head-to-heads they have over
Ole Miss and Alabama
and Arkansas.
Wow. So
Auburn not out of it, but they have to be rooting for them Razorbacks coming up this weekend. And Alabama all of a sudden is just looking
it's Georgia.
real good.
Georgia and Alabama, SEC championship. Like, you know, we've done this chapter how many times now? A couple, like 3-4 times now. I mean, hey, let's get back to it again. Nobody wants to play Bama. I hate when people say, oh, you know, we want Bama. No, we don't.
Yeah, pretty ho-hum weekend for Alabama. They take on the 1-8 New Mexico State Aggies. Bryce Young basically looked he was playing his air, 21 of 23, 270 yards, and 5 touchdowns
Heisman.
in this
Trying
game.
to pad them stats for the Heisman, man.
I mean, that's honestly his worst yardage game, I think.
And that's insane. But I mean, that's the Heisman favorite right now. Bryce Young, Kenneth Walker.
Holy cow. Yeah, that's his worst yardage game.
That kid is good.
Since Ole Miss.
That kid is good. He's legit. And
yeah, the 5 games before that, he had 369 yards against Texas A&M, 348 against Mississippi State, 371 against Tennessee, and 302 against LSU. He now has 33 touchdowns on the year to just 3 interceptions. He hasn't thrown an interception in his last 4 games.
Crazy thing is, this might be the best quarterback Nick Saban's had since that kind of like Tua era.
I think he's better.
Yeah, I know. I think he's better too. And this is like when he comes out, those NFL scouts, they're going to be drooling.
Well, here's the only thing about him is his height. That's the only thing you can really knock him for.
Yeah, he's like, 6 feet?
He's kind of slender.
He get that together. I like Bryce Young. I can admit that.
So he's listed at 6 feet, 194 pounds. Usually what you're listed at, you take an inch or 2 away, you take about 15 pounds away. Yeah. So Bryce Young is probably rocking about 5'11", 180 pounds.
Giving me, outside of the weight, is giving me, I said it when I first saw him play. I'm like, he kind of plays like Russell Wilson a little bit.
I think he's a little bit slicker.
Yeah, the way he get improvised.
That's what I'm saying. Not right now, but at his college days.
Yeah,
right. And he's got a way cleaner delivery than Russell Wilson had.
Yeah,
during his college days. Bryce Young's special, and so now
Falcons.
Now all of a sudden you're looking, Cam, and that's the thing. You got to root for the Falcons to be bad enough to be in a position to get him because he's going to be the number 1 player off the board in a couple drafts.
I would actually for that. I would actually.
So we are now tanking for Bryce.
I've never been like that, but for him, absolutely,
we are tanking for Bryce.
Well, just trade the farm and. I don't know.
So now the Falcons aren't drafting a quarterback this year.
No, I don't. Unless it's like Matt Corrals
or Malik Willis.
Yeah, or Malik. One
Carson
of those two.
Strong.
No, I just need one of those two, Matt Corral or Malik Willis. If it's not one of those two, please just go draft.
What if the mailman goes pro?
No. Just draft, get a defense. Get a defense because what I saw yesterday, you got to get a defense, man.
So it's looking like it's Alabama unless some cataclysmic event happens where they lose the next 2 games, which speaking of the SEC West, we have not mentioned this yet. Bo Nix having ankle surgery. He is done for the regular season. So it looks like it's the TJ Finley show, which might not be the worst thing. If we're looking for Auburn. So you don't want it to happen because of an injury, but TJ Finley obviously led that game-winning drive against Georgia. A lot of fans have wanted to see him in some of these games where Bo Nix has played pretty terribly. So it's going to be TJ Finley for the next couple of weeks, and obviously including the Iron Bowl there. So we'll have to watch and see for that one. I do want to come back. I want to talk about Georgia's quarterback situation because I think that got put to bed this weekend. We'll dive into it next right here on Second Down. Cam, I didn't know you were such a Creed fan.
Yeah, I am. Big fan.
What's your favorite Creed song?
One Last Breath.
Oh, that's the one you just played. I like that.
Yeah, that's my favorite song.
Sometimes you just gotta jam out with some Creed, man. Don't let people tell you they're not good. You listen to Nickelback too?
No,
Not a Nickelback fan.
not
All right,
Nickelback fan.
I got you. I know Creed a little close to home there for you. So, all right. I said I want to talk about this in the last segment. I think, and I know it's going to upset some Georgia fans because I think there's a large portion of the Georgia fan base out there that is still waiting and hoping for JT Daniels to take over this team.
Yeah, it's done.
I think it's time to go ahead and close the book on that. I think JT Daniels is healthy. Kirby Smart said he's repping with the twos, and he's doing a great job staying healthy. This is Stetson Bennett's team until the wheels fall off. Now, could that change if, say, you get to the SEC championship and the offense is just unproductive and you get boat raced by Alabama? Certainly. I think if you get beat by double digits by Alabama in the SEC championship, you absolutely need to recalibrate because you're still going to the college football playoff. But there would be some recalibration needed there. But if you go to the SEC championship 12-0 after beating Charleston Southern and Georgia Tech like you should, and you play a close game with Alabama or you beat Alabama by a couple scores, this is Stetson Bennett's team. And I thought what happened in Knoxville was a really important thing, which is Georgia trailed, and there was some tension in that game, right? And it got alleviated very quickly. A lot of thanks to James Cook on that one, but
yeah,
that game was tight, and Tennessee was moving the football on Georgia, and they had a lead twice. They went up 7-0. They were up 10-7, right? They were moving it, and Stetson Bennett had to answer against an offense that looked really good, and they did answer. Did he still have some plays where you're like, what in the world are you doing? Yeah, he's going to have some of those. For the most part, every quarterback in college football is going to have some of those. But over 50 yards rushing, was able to take a broken play and turn it into a touchdown, getting the team in the right formations. I thought that was a massive statement for Stetson Bennett. And I think this is his team.
Yeah, it's his team. I think people get confused from a talent perspective. We do know JT Daniels has more arm talent, a bigger arm, a bigger cannon than Stetson Bennett. But Stetson Bennett, I mean, he's won over this team. We're not saying JT is not a good quarterback. We know he's a good quarterback, but
this was not his most impressive statistical game. He was 17-29, 213 yards and a touchdown, right? A lot of Jake Fromm's most impressive games weren't where he was lighting up the scoreboard, right? If you don't need to do that, don't do it. If Georgia can run for over 200 yards, that's what you're going to do. And I thought that offensive line, I thought the biggest thing that Georgia fans should notice is Warren Erickson got pulled from that game, and they put Xavier Truss in at right guard, and things started clicking. That offensive line got nasty. Truss has a lot of things to work on, right? He has to work on pass pro. He has to work on some of his identifications when it comes to picking out his guy and then getting to the next level. But one thing he doesn't have to work on is nastiness and size. The dude is a mountain of a man playing right guard, and he's just mean. And he's had that fiery spirit. And you can see some frustration from him where he's been pulled during games and stuff like that, just because he's never, and he gets frustrated on the sideline. I want that. I want a guy who wants to get in, right? And once he gets in, he's nasty. I've always had this thing. Mentally, a game is over once they say you pick up a first down, like a 10-yard run, and you pick up a first down, and an offensive lineman pancakes a defensive lineman, and then they do like the bear crawl over the guy, right, where they're like clawing into the grass and they're just rubbing their belly in their face. That's and bear crawling over them. It's it. Like once you're getting bear crawled over, that offensive line is just dominating you. I thought Cedric Van Pran had an awesome game. Broderick Jones filling in for Sawyer, I thought had a big game. He had a couple of plays. He obviously had the holding call, but he had a couple of plays where he really stood out, and you can see why everybody is so excited about him. And then once you get Amarius Mims in there, I mean, this offensive line's not going anywhere. But I thought Truss coming in was huge because I think that's probably what you're going to see going forward. And now Stetson Bennett just in complete control of this offense, using those legs, using his arm. And he threw some darts. Like, I mean, they weren't all wide open guys like we've seen in some of the other games. He had to fit the ball into coverage a few times, and he threw an absolute dime to James Cook on that long touchdown pass. So Stetson Bennett, really impressive, and that offensive line I thought had their best performance.
See, I get impressed by the small plays that most people don't pay attention to, like on the 13-yard.
Why are you flexing on people? You're like, listen, this is why I'm smart.
I wouldn't flex, but the 13-yard scamper that Stetson Bennett had, that was a big play to keep the drive going. I think that was like a 3rd and I want to say like 3rd and 10 or
Yeah,
something like
then you
that.
pick it up, and
And
then
you pick it
at the
up
end of that
and
drive, James Cook hits the 30-plus yard touchdown
Yep.
run.
when we're down, I think 7-0. I mean, it's stuff like that. He's able to scramble and improvise and make things happen. I was very impressed because, like you said, that was their homecoming. You have Peyton Manning, the NFL legend in
That
the
was a
building.
100-year anniversary of Neyland.
Yep, and they go down, they score the opening drive, then it's 10-7. You're like, okay, hold on. And then it's 10-10, and we're like, hold on, this might be one of those games. And Georgia, credit, and I give the credit to Bennett. Georgia, they stayed calm. They didn't like lose their minds, didn't lose their cool, and they came out there and just played Georgia football. They ran the ball, smacked you in the mouth.
Yep.
And they won the game. It was impressive. And this was the game that scared me. I think I said it months ago. I'm like, at Tennessee, God, that's kind of scary, but they handled business.
Well, in the
man.
past, this kind of time of the year has been where Georgia would drop one, right? 2017 against Auburn, 2018 against LSU, 2019 against South Carolina. This time of the year, just the middle of the year, getting towards the end of it, is where they would drop one. And this was obviously the culmination of a lot of that, right? You want to go undefeated in SEC play. You want to keep that perfect record going. And then you're playing against a team that's really kind of caught fire here as the season's gone. But I thought Georgia played one of their best games of the year. And if everybody's saying like, wow, Tennessee had this awesome game offensively, Georgia outgained them by 100 yards. And that includes that garbage time touchdown that Tennessee scored where they put Joe Milton in after they'd pulled Hendon Hooker, put Joe Milton in and just started slinging the rock as much as they could. Some penalties helped them out on that drive as well. Georgia had more first downs than them. Georgia beat them in the turnover battle 2-0. Like, it's just solid football. And it's like a boa constrictor, right? The more you struggle against this team, the more mistakes you start making. And all of a sudden you're looking up and it's a 3-score football game.
What I liked was guys stepped up on offense. So we see Zamir White. He hasn't got it going the last 2 games. Who steps up? James Cook.
But yeah, he had a career day.
Yeah, he stepped up big time. I'm like, okay, this is what I like to see. And then now you got the wide receivers. They're stepping up by committee. Stetson Bennett has clearly stepped up for the whole year. I mean, I just love the fact your starting quarterback goes out, you come back, you come with your second string quarterback, and you don't miss a beat.
Right.
Same with defense. You're missing guys on defense. You got a guy going out for allegations. You have injuries. Guys just step up. You're just plugging people in, and you're not missing a beat. That's called good coaching. Everybody has the same attitude, and it's giving championship vibes right now. That's what I will say. But like I've said all year,
no, you said it.
It's one monkey on the back. That's it. We got to get that off our back, and we're fine.
Fine.
Yeah, I say we're fine. I told you I like Ohio State's offense. I'm just not a believer that they could be physical.
I'm worried about.
I don't think they could be physical enough to play with Georgia for 4 quarters.
I'm worried about that SEC championship. That's
now
right
that I'm worried about. I'm always going to be worried about Alabama because psychologically they have that mental advantage over us. But if we could get over that hump in the SEC championship, we don't have to worry about them in the playoffs. We won't have to see them.
Yeah,
possibly.
Tennessee's prior game against Kentucky, they had accumulated 461 yards, averaged 9.8 yards per play at Kentucky. Against Georgia at home, 387 yards, 4.7 yards per play. So almost cut in half.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was at home for Tennessee. So just another huge performance. Now you see the 17 points and Georgia fans just lose their mind because the stated goal is 13 or less. 17 points is fine. Take a quick break here. We'll come back with more right here on Second Down. We got a big show coming up today on 3 and Out. We'll break it down for you next. And also, I'll let Cam vent a little bit about his Atlanta Falcons. We'll dive into it next right here on Second Down. Second down on ESPN Radio. Christian Gokel alongside Cam Urshery. Cam, I have to end the show with some distressful news. The Atlanta Braves offered Freddie Freeman a contract. Freddie Freeman has declined the contract, and now CBS Sports is reporting the Yankees and Freddie Freeman are meeting.
This would be heartbreaking for Atlanta.
Now,
this would be
I will say this. John Heyman reporting that the Braves are still the team that is the most likely to sign Freddie Freeman. And if I had to imagine, it's probably, hey, let's go talk to the Yankees, get their offer, bring that back, show it to the Braves, and figure something out. I'm trying to pull up the exact stats of what the Braves offered Freddie Freeman. I'm pretty sure it was 5 years, $135 million. Goldschmidt got, and it would be the most a first baseman's ever been paid. But I mean, say what Freddie Freeman wants is 7 years, say $200 million. Is it disrespectful to go to him for 5 years, 135?
Yeah, I say give the man whatever he wants.
Do you think that's disrespectful?
No, I think it is. I give the man whatever he wants.
I understand in sports we build these icons, and Freddie Freeman, I think, is like the new Chipper Jones for this era of Braves fans, right?
Okay.
I just don't think, especially with an ownership group that is a conglomerate, Liberty Media, controls the budget for the team. Basically what you're saying is this, Cam, is I'm willing to pay Freddie Freeman for 5 years of service. I'm willing to pay him for 7 years. Basically, at the end of that, after 5 years, the next 2 seasons, you're just assuming, because it's the way it typically works out, he won't be great those last couple seasons, and you'll probably be paying him $30 million a year.
Yeah, I'm one of those people who give respect where respect is due. So
I don't think you can operate like that in professional sports. I know it's not a salary.
Ideal.
I know it's not a salary cap league, but you are kind of salary capped by what Liberty Media is willing to offer you.
Yeah, it's not an ideal situation, of course, but I just look at it as in we haven't won nothing in 26 years. This is your guy. He's done everything for Atlanta. I just give him his money, man. Give him what respect is due. Like that may go a long way for you to get free agents. I think
you have to look at everything though. Is like you have Ozzie Albies is under contract. You have to work with Dansby here in a little bit. Austin Riley's under contract, and they're all hitting 30 home runs a year. And Austin Riley had a better season this year than Freddie Freeman. Obviously, do you want both of them kind of bookending your infield? Certainly.
Yeah.
But I mean, is that something you could look at and say, we could go out there, the money that you don't re-sign Freddie Freeman for, you can look at signing one of these other big-time free agents that are infielders, bring them in. Austin Riley has shown that he can play first base. You slide somebody over to third base. If you can sign a free agent there, like I still think Freddie Freeman gets signed. Yeah. What I think the Braves should avoid is the Albert Pujols dead money at the end of his career, where Albert Pujols with the Angels was washed, but they're still paying him $40 million a year.
I think Freddie's going to be smart with negotiating. Okay, you give me 135. Yankees gave me 150. Can y'all match that?
Yeah, or it's the Yankees gave me 200. I'm willing to come back to you guys for 180.
Yeah, I think
with
that's
a lot of bonuses.
Yeah,
I just don't think you can do what a lot of listen. Freddie Freeman's not doing his job. His agent's not doing his job. If they don't, or his or her, I don't know who his agent is, but they're not doing their job unless they try to get the most money for Freddie Freeman, and they're going to say, listen.
Absolutely.
Do guys really play well when they're 37, 38? Not typically, but it's Freddie Freeman.
I'm trying to get my money.
How much is he worth to you? And is it worth $60-70 million over those last 2 years? And that's what Alex Anthopoulos, who's obviously shown that he's a very shrewd operator, is nostalgia worth $70 million.
It's true, but it's going to be a decision the Braves are going to have to make. Or is
it worth $70 million for the Braves? And it's an arbitrary number. I don't inherently know what that contract's going to look like. But how much money is it worth for you 5 years from now for those next 5 years?
I think it's worth it if he gets you another ring in those next 5 years.
We'll never know that until 5 years from now.
True.
But is it worth it? Basically, what I'm saying is a huge ticket at the end for a guy who probably won't be very good. Are the next 5 years worth it?
I think it is. I will say that. I think it is. I'm a real loyal guy to guys that bring home championships to your city. And Atlanta is not known for that. He brought it home. So I think
here's what you got to realize too is you have a lot of guys right now who are coming up and are very young players, right? You're looking at your pitching staff, Ian Anderson, Max Fried, Mike Soroka. Eventually, those dudes are going to want to get paid. Are you going to have enough money down the line to keep that core together or potentially go out there and get a big free agent ace? I don't inherently think so if you do break Freddie Freeman off like that, but it's completely up to the Braves and Alex Anthopoulos as to where that value is. And obviously they have an idea in their mind of what you're going to end up paying Ian Anderson and the Max Frieds and those guys. But you're talking about some free agent money, pitcher money.
This is what it takes to be a championship contender and the team that the Braves are.
The team that has like the highest paid guy in baseball, the Angels, they're typically not very good. I'm not taking anything away from.
No. I'm saying
Bryce Harper. He's almost a $500 million guy.
No, I'm saying the confusion
and they lost to the Braves.
Like the confusion in trying to get your money right within the organization. I think all championship teams have that kind of problem. Outside of the Dodgers because they're just rich, but yeah.
And the Yankees and the Red Sox, but we'll see. Freddie Freeman, though, apparently his representative is speaking to the Yankees, and he has turned down the first offer from the Atlanta Braves. We're going to break that down more coming up on 3 and Out with BJ Bennett, Ben Troop, and Kevin Thomas right here on ESPN Radio.